Hello, class. As you can see, no silly ass today or anything like that. I'm dressed a little more formally than I normally am. The reason is because this is special. This is the first of a series of videos where I talk to people about their jobs, about how they use technology in their jobs, and also just what they enjoy about their jobs, and what they've been able to do with their jobs and where their job has taken them. I hope that ignites in you a sense of wonder and also a sense of possibilities, that there is no job that is not available to you. You can do anything that you set your mind to, just as all these people have. There's nothing more unique about them than there is about you. So, let's kick it off. I think you're going to enjoy it. Is it off? Is this? I don't know. Susie, I don't know how to turn the camera off. Thank you so much. We have Mark Johnson here, an old friend of mine. I think we've known each other for about 15 years now. And you can tell how old we are because 15 years does not seem like a long time. Thank you, Mark, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Can you please just kind of tell us about who you work for and what your path was to get there and what your role is now, and maybe some of the highlights of your career along the way?
Okay, sure. Well, I work for NASA, part of NASA called JPL. It's in Southern California. And I'm an engineer, an aerospace engineer there. I grew up in a small town in California and always kind of wanted to do space stuff. There's no space stuff in the small towns in California, but I went to college in the big city of Los Angeles. And that's how I got to be an engineer. And since that time, I've gotten to work on the Space Shuttle when we used to have a space shuttle, the space station that's flying overhead right now, and most recently, Mars Rovers, which is a big part of what we do at my part of JPL.
Excellent. And I know that you're a humble man, so I'm going to say, if somebody else was to tell me what your greatest accomplishment was with JPL, what would you say?
So the thing I'm most proud of at JPL is two things, really. One is working with other engineers. I've helped manage other engineers and help them do great things, and that's been fun to help other people. But for myself, I was the systems engineer for a spacecraft called Mars Insight, which landed on Mars and did earthquake, or actually Marsquake, measurements of that planet to figure out what is on the inside of the center of that planet.
Very cool. All right. So, where is the coolest place that your job has taken you?
I think the coolest place would be I got to go to another NASA center where astronauts work. When I was working on the space station is something, the Mars rovers don't have any people on board. They're a robot, but the space station has astronauts on board, and astronauts help even put it together. So I got to go to a place where they had a giant underwater tank where astronauts could go in their spacesuits, and it kind of simulated what it would be like to be in zero gravity, to be underwater in the tank. And they tried to put our parts together of the big solar panels on the space station, and I got to watch the astronauts do that, which I thought was really cool.
That is really cool. And I happen to know that they had you live in France for almost a year.
And that's true too. When I was doing that Mars mission for the Marsquakes, we were working with a company and another space agency in France. And so I needed to go work over there and help them for a while, which meant I got to live in France for almost a year, which was super fun too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. Who's the coolest person you've gotten to meet because of your job?
Coolest person. It's going to be cheesy, but I think the people I work with at JPL are awfully cool and creative. If you see when we land something on Mars, you see all those people high-fiving each other and jumping up and down. Those are my coworkers all the time, and a lot of them are nerds like me, but they're also very cool and they are super creative. So I think that's the best.
That is pretty cool. And I just thought of this, but you used to work with the guy, but do you know the guy that sends out the things that blow up on people and spray confetti everywhere?
Yes, that guy, Mars Rover. He used to work with us at JPL, and he worked on the Mars Rover. I knew him, and in fact, he just came to JPL about a week or two ago to have a presentation and talk about educating kids about science.
That's awesome. And if you had to do something else outside of aeronautical engineering, what would you do, you think?
That's hard to imagine. I even tried for a little while to do something outside of aerospace engineering. I didn't like it so much. But these days, I think I love learning about history so much. So if I can learn about history or geography or something about how the world works and its people, that would be maybe it.
Awesome.
We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver in preparation for parachute deploy. The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed and we are seeing significant deceleration. Skycrane maneuver has started. About 20 meters off the surface.
We're getting signals from MRO.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the sands of past life.
Looks like we're getting the first image.
This is the most amazing thing. This is what NASA does. This is what we can do as a country.
All right, we have a lot of questions for you. The kids were really excited to talk to you. So let's get to the first question. This is from Lola.
Hi, my name is Zola. How do you do your job? Work on a computer.
Well, Lola, where I work, everyone uses a computer. When we design a rover, we make drawings of how it looks and then how to make each of its parts. Those drawings are done on a computer, and then when we make those parts out of metal or plastic or whatever, it's big machines that have computers in them that make the parts. The rover itself has its own computer inside it, and we program it to drive around on Mars. And it's a giant team of people that makes a Mars rover, and we use our computers to send messages and write reports to each other on the computer every day at work.
Great. Okay. And now we have a question from Lola's sister, Lillian.
Hi, my name is Lillian. Mr. Johnson, how long did it take you to build the robot?
Hi, Lillian. Well, it's a big team project with a whole lot of people, and it actually takes us quite a while. It took us about 4 years to build and test the rover, and that was after a few years to design it. And then when it launches, it takes about a year or so to get to Mars.
Next, we have a question from Spencer.
Hi, my name is Spencer, Mr. Johnson. How does a robot land without breaking?
Well, Spencer, yeah, when we land on another planet, it's kind of like when a skydiver jumps out of an airplane and falling to the ground, but they want to land softly. The robot goes really fast through the thin air of Mars, and it has a big parachute to slow it down. But the parachute doesn't slow down the robot enough. It would crash at the ground if it finally got there. So the rover also has its own rocket-powered jetpack at the very end that slows it down enough so it lands safely right on its own wheels.
Very interesting. Thank you. Next, we're going to go on to Finley.
Hi, my name is Finley. How big is the robot?
Hi, Finley. Well, the rover is about as big as a car, a small car. If you've seen like a Mini Cooper car, it's about like that.
We have a question from Celia.
Hi, my name is Celia. Mr. Johnson, how long has the rover been on Mars?
Okay, Celia, we actually have 2 rovers on Mars right now. The latest one is called Perseverance. Sometimes we call it Percy for short. And it's been driving around on Mars for 2 years already. But Percy has a kind of a big sister rover, looks very much the same thing, called Curiosity. And Curiosity has been already driving on Mars for over 10 years.
Thank you. And here comes one from Sloan about electronics.
Hi, my name is Sloan. How do electronics work in space?
Hi, Sloan. Well, electronics actually work really well in space. Even though there's no air in space and no gravity in space, electronics don't mind that. When we get to Mars, there's a tiny amount of Martian air and there's some gravity. But again, the electronics don't really care or even notice very much. But what they do need is for us to make sure it's not too hot or too cold for them. Just like electronics in your toys or phone or whatever at home. If it's too hot or too cold, they stop working. So our engineers use electric heaters and other inventions so that the electronics in the rover stay at a comfortable temperature. And one more thing, just like people can get a sunburn from too much sun, in space or even on Mars, the sun's rays can damage electronics if we don't protect them, which is why they go inside the rover.
All right, let's hear from Gio.
Hello, Mr. Johnson. My name is Gio, and I would like to know, have your rovers ever found any forms or sites of life on any planet?
That's a great question, Gio. We haven't found any life yet, but we sure are looking. Because wouldn't that be an amazing discovery? On Earth, we find life in all the strangest places. Of course, in a forest or in a pond or something like that. But even places like the bottom of the ocean, the harshest desert, or a volcanic lake. Now, in those weird places, I'm not talking about finding like a mouse or a fish or anything. I mean the kind of tiny creatures that you can only study by looking at them with a microscope. And if we ever found those kind of forms of life in strange places of Earth, don't you think we could find them on Mars or other planets? I don't know. No one really knows. And the best thing about that question is that both answers to it are amazing. If we find something like that on another planet, that will be so interesting. But if we never find anything else except here on Earth, that will also be incredible to know.
All right, we have a very, very important question from Joey.
Hi, my name is Joey. Mr. Johnson, can you please take me to space?
No, Joey, I can't send you into space. But now more and more rockets are going, and you may be seeing some on TV, and some of them are even starting to take passengers. It's kind of just rich people to start with, but that's how trains and airplanes started too. And now it's easy for any of us to ride trains and airplanes. Maybe in your lifetime, it'll be easy to get a ticket for a ride into space on a rocket.
All right. Let's close out with Celia. She has another question for you.
Hi, my name is Celia. Mr. Johnson, what color is the rover?
I love this question, Celia. The rover is like a lot of spacecraft, and they're mostly in 3 colors. Kind of boring colors, right? Black paint where we need to warm it up from the sun, white paint where we need to make sure it doesn't get too hot, and gold-colored foil around things like wires that aren't really good for putting on paint. But when we were testing our rover on Earth, before it was ready to be launched into space, one of our engineers, she decided that her part of the rover would be painted pink. She was having fun and reminding everyone that girls are on the team too.
Well, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate you being here. One thing I forgot to mention is that something to be very familiar to the people who watch my videos is Mark Johnson is the one who gave me the taco hat. This was a birthday gift from Mark. He did not want me to forget my Southern California roots. So this taco hat that you've seen came from Mark. Mark, thank you so much. You've given a lot of contributions to science and space, but mostly you contributed the taco hat to Mr. Gullett's videos. Thank you so much for being here, Mark. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Goodbye, Mr. Taco.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Bye.
Commence launching Project Joey.
We have a go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Joey rocket has cleared the tower.
Feet per second. Now, let the altitude building, 512 nautical miles.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. All the booster functions are proceeding normally. The sequencing is in good shape, and it doesn't look like they're having any problems at all. Over.
Roger. Roger, we've got the high gain locked on now, I believe. Auto track and narrow.
Okay, you're coming in loud and clear.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7,